Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of
Psycho Opinion.
Today, we have something a little bit different than ever before, and that's that we have the whole crew is here. We've got two guests today. We've got Robert Walker, and we've got Stephen Latour with us. Hello, guys.
Thanks for having us. Hello.
Howdy doody.
There they are. So today's topic is a really interesting one. A lot of theories, a lot of just ideas are circulating around this one. And the one thing I really want to say in the beginning here is that we have got some amazing, what I believe to be amazing paranormal evidence coming at the end of the show.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So if you have no other reason to stay tuned for that. We've got an amazing photograph coming up that is one of the most compelling pieces of evidence that I've seen for a long time into ghosts and the paranormal realm. So to get started, I kind of want to discuss ghosts and spirituality and kind of why we have the need to believe in these things and why we, every religion, everybody from like the beginning of time, it seems, has had some different version of the afterlife or, some kind of continuation of life, if you will, whether that be through spirituality or whatnot. So let me just go around the table here and kind of, Stephen, what do you think about this? People's need for spirituality, people's need for an afterlife. What do you think?
Well, I think the intrigue itself is something that is kind of at the forefront. A lot of it, to me, I feel is kind of the entertainment factor of it as well, and how it's been hyped up to this point in today's time frame. You've got all the movies, trying to be scarier than the next, and which speaks to found footage and
Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore.
Yeah, exactly. All sorts of things like that. So, I'll tell you right out of the gate that I'm more skeptical of a mindset than I guess some people are with this. But as you alluded to, I do have something to share after the fact.
And I can't wait to bring that up. But we're not going to do that right away. That's going to be. We're gonna wait till we get into this because I definitely, it's something to look forward to. Rob, what do you think, man? What's going on with people and ghosts here?
Well, it's the great unknown. It's something that everybody's curious about. There's pretty much no way of knowing what there is, after we die, and whether it's spirituality or religion, giving us a basis on what to believe, we still won't have hard evidence. And I believe that's why everyone just kind of, no matter where you're from or what culture you're brought up in, almost most people around the world believe in ghosts.
Okay, I'm going to say right now, as far as, because we'll go ahead and do that as well, if we're going to talk about a number system for skepticism, I'm probably a hard 9 fingering a 10 here. And where you said you're a skeptic.
With 10 being the most skeptical?
10 being the most skeptical. I'm going to say that I'm a hard 9 fingering a 10. Where are you at? Because you're talking about you being a skeptic.
Yeah, I'll leave that alone. So I would say I've probably been a 9 as well, but because of some of the things that I've experienced firsthand, and that if somebody else were to have told me happened to them, I probably wouldn't have believed them.
Yeah.
I'm going to back off and say maybe a 6 or a 7 now because of that.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Yep.
Wow, that's huge. Robert, where do you think you're at on this point scale?
Honestly, I was thinking 6 and 7 as well.
Okay.
I've seen some things that can't be explained by science, and they're not actually relating to ghosts, but I've seen some things, so I'm definitely more open to believe than not.
And that's one thing I've noticed talking about ghosts and paranormal. Is it's like when you talk about paranormal, this whole door opens up where it's like next thing you know we're talking about other dimensions, aliens, cryptoids. We're just talking about like everything. It seems like it's all involved, and to me some of it seems more mystical or maybe more fableized than others. But continuing, Eliza, where are you at on this point scale here?
I want to say I'm a 2 because I believe in ghosts. I do. I've never seen anything, but I felt stuff, and I've experienced some weird things too. So I want to say I'm definitely probably a 2, but there is some stuff out there that is kind of silly and kind of goofy. So I want to say maybe more of like a 1, but then maybe a 2 when it comes to some things. So
I don't know, not feeling much, but being that open to it. I mean, I've got a bridge I could sell you. You know, I mean, it kind of sounds like you're there, but
I'm not that gullible,
no,
but
I definitely understand, and I know spirituality is individual for everybody, and every single person believes in different things, and me personally, I think I feel like at one point in time I was more spiritual than I am now. And I feel like the thing that I want so badly to hold on to is to feel like this is not all for nothing. And I think a lot of people feel the same way. As it is entertaining, we do have the movies, we do have the unknown. It is interesting, it is fun. But to me, it's just like, man, I can't believe that we're put on this earth for 60, 70, 80 years, however long it is, and then just poof, that's it. What was the point? I mean, maybe that kind of sounds depressing or whatnot, but I mean, I want to know that there's something, and I wish that there was.
I think a lot of times when people claim that they've seen something or have heard something, they're possibly preconditioned to perceiving it that way.
Yeah.
Somebody told them something. They've already got information ahead of time. They've got something going on in their life that is, reflective of their mindset being in that state.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's pretty common in what most people would, in a quiet moment themselves, be completely firm on the fact that, yes, I did see this and truly believe that that was the case. What was it actually really the truth, or their eyes playing tricks on them?
Yeah.
Or so.
Or kind of like when you want a car and you kind of see that car everywhere, like you never saw it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's what you're focused on or what you're open to, and we discussed that earlier, because when we bring up the topics, we kind of talk about things, and it's also we brought up children. I even think there's even a part of me that believes that if there is something else, if there is another dimension or dimensions or spiritual world, I almost think even hallucinogens, when people do drugs, I'm kind of like, maybe that's opening up some of those doors up here.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're starting to get some of those other, waves coming in with information that might not be of this world. Some of the interesting things that happen. People that are on their deathbed, children, before they kind of get that, that curiosity knocked out of them, I guess. And to make to go to Steven's point here. A good friend of all of ours actually passed away a couple years ago, and I would be in my studio painting, and I'd put on different playlists all the time, whatever I was in the mood for. It could be classical music, it could be classic rock, it could be, I just listened to such an array of music. It could be 90s hip-hop, and it's like every second or third song, Rose Tattoo by Dropkick Murphys would come on, and that was one of our friend Adam, who passed away, that was one of his favorite songs at the end, and it was a song that him and I definitely appreciated and listened to together quite a bit. I'm out in the studio, that song comes on, like every second or third song, and we're talking, it's on a 90s hip-hop playlist. It's on and if you don't know the Dropkick Murphys, it's kind of an Irish punk sound, and, I'm sitting here putting on Cyndi Lauper playlist, and I've got Rose Tattoo by Dropkick Murphys playing right after Girls Just Want to Have Fun. So, I mean,
Yeah.
just an example there, but it's so your mind automatically is kind of like, well, is this him trying to talk to me? Is this some kind of sign? And I mean, me being the skeptic, I just think YouTube was being fucking weird.
Right.
But, some people could say, hey, that's really coincidental,
In a lot of ways, too, what's the harm in that, feeling that that's the case? If it makes you feel okay about it, or there's some solace in it, then I think that's why people do determine that what they've seen or what they've heard has some sort of significance other than potentially what it might be, which is in fact nothing. I've got something that I've recently, and I don't know how because it's been around for a long time as far as the discussion is concerned, but I want to bring up, called infrasound. And everybody, for the most part, has heard of ultrasound. It is anything over 200 hertz, this noise. The human ear can only hear 20 hertz, I believe is what it is. and anything below that is called infrasound. So the
So is this kind of like a dog whistle kind of idea,
I think, but I don't
like wavelengths that people can't hear, kind of?
Yes, but that might be more towards the higher pitched
Okay,
stuff.
okay.
And again, this is I'm new to understanding
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
but I thought it was pretty cool that there are different pieces of equipment, large industrial fans, different electrical sounds that create a 19 hertz output, and that is actually the same vibration wavelength of the human eye. And so there's been talk, some of the research I've done, there's been talk of people that worked in old factories that were having things that popped up to them that they had seen in their peripheral vision, whether they thought it was shadows or ghosts or a feeling of uneasiness or something. When in essence, when a team went in there, they found out that this large fan was putting out this frequency that causes the eyeball to vibrate and causes certain things within you to become unsettled and to give you that feeling of fear or uneasiness or the potential of seeing something that is not in fact there. And I thought that was really cool
Wow.
and something
Yeah.
that maybe a lot of people don't know about, but they put it also in movies, horror movies, and they've been doing it for years, where they'll hide this stuff in there that you don't quite hear, but it's there, and it's more of a feeling than it is a sound that helps you kind of become more scared over something that maybe you wouldn't.
Yeah,
Hide
just
under the
just
covers.
enough to get you offset.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like subliminally before the jump scare or something like
Correct.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they've been doing it a long time, and I
Oh,
never knew
wow.
about it, so that's kind
That's
of a neat
crazy.
thing.
And I didn't as well. And learning about something new like that, it's like how many things like that are there that are reasonable explanations.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I think that 95% of the time, 90 to 99% of the time, I'll go that high even to say that I think most things can be explained, and I think that it gets in our heads. I think we have a creaking in the floor, and then all of a sudden we get freaked out. So then we're thinking we're hearing things, and I mean, that's just me. And I have had a couple of what I would think were supernatural experiences, but I always find a way to talk myself out of them. And I guess that's the skeptic in me, and I just can't sit back and be like, yeah, that's what it was. It was a ghost. So I mean, Liza, how about you? Do you have any interesting ghost stories, encounters? I mean, is there anything that you've got going on over there? You said you haven't witnessed anything, but yeah, you've never heard the things late at night. You've never had I mean, something has to make you believe in this stuff. And I mean, and what is that? Is there anything that
I don't
you
know.
have?
There's just been like some feelings that I've gotten, and like that the one instance with my nephew seeing the 3 cats on the bed, and there was literally only 2, and he was just learning how to count, and he told me that there was literally 1, 2, 3 cats on the bed, and there was
and
only
one had passed away
Yeah.
recently.
So that was interesting, and then just a couple of things that have happened with my dad, and so yeah, it's just and then there's some stuff that happened right after my dad passed away, and I was kind of like, was that my dad, doing that specific thing, or like my car got knocked out. It just so happened that when I used to do sales, and I was traveling sales, and my oil pan, I'm not completely sure the oil pan drip thing, got knocked off, and I was out in the middle of nowhere, so I just happened to pull off to the side. There was actually, I drove to a grocery store parking lot, and I just happened to actually, and it was like sliding on the road, and I was kind of like nervous about it, and I just had this thought just popped in my head, and I was like, what am I going to do? And this thought just popped in my head that, Google, I think it was like Memorial Day weekend, or like it was a holiday weekend, and I was like, there's going to be nothing opened. And so I just happened to Google this place, and it was like 0.3 miles away. So I drove there, and this man was actually just happened to be there, and he was like, oh yeah, it's nothing, and he just crawled under the thing, took it off, and popped it off. And it was like right after it was a couple months after my dad had passed, and I was like, was that my dad? It's like kind of stuff like that happens. And so, I mean, I don't know, it could just be explained away where I just got lucky.
Yeah, there just
or,
happened to be a guy at a gas station. That's what it kind of sounds like to me. But I mean, I get what
well,
you're saying about
but my dad always kind of helped me out with my car. He kind of was always there and stuff like that. So I don't know. That feeling that my dad was like looking out for me. I don't know.
And I think as far as the large spectrum I was talking about with ghosts and spirituality is also kind of your belief in everything. Do things happen for a reason?
Right.
Are things set up for us in that way? I mean, what do you think, Robert? Do you think things happen for a reason, and there is this spiritual world, and that maybe we even have, what do they call them? Not fairy godfather, protectors,
But,
angels,
like a guardian
like,
spirit of
guardian
some
spirits.
type.
Do you believe in this kind of thing where?
Personally, I do. Yeah. I've had plenty of times after my uncle passed away that I just kind of feel like he's around, sitting in the same room, or
Yeah.
like basically right behind my shoulder. And there's no way to prove that, but it's just a gut feeling on the inside.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really just comes down to personal belief at that point.
Yeah, and I mean it's all kind of connected because you kind of have to. I think you have to believe in some things to be able to believe in others in a way, for that to work. A coincidence here. I mean, this is totally a coincidence in my life, but I feel like whenever I've had a really shitty day or I'm really feeling down, it rains. And that may sound like people are like, oh, well, rain's depressing. I love the rain. Rain is very soothing to me. It relaxes me. It's a very comfortable place for me. And I had not passed away that raised me when I was a kid, and I have thought about that. I've been like, well, do they, is somebody making it rain to kind of tell me it's okay because that's my safe place, that's my, that's what I enjoy, that's what comforts and soothes me, and I always end up explaining it away like shit that's been on the radar for days. I mean, come on, this is just a coincidence, but I mean, there are those things where it does make you think for a second, maybe it's raining right now for me,
Right.
What are your thoughts, Stephen?
Well, I'm sure we all have certain stories that if we think hard enough, we can come back to and be like, oh yeah, what about this? One that just popped into my head as you were speaking is I was a teenager. It was late at night, and I was coming back from someplace. I don't really recall the details, but I know where I was. And it's convex outward, right? So the end of the road met down by a creek. And it was pitch black out there and very, very little lighting. And the road that I was getting ready to turn onto follows that creek. And so they had on this telephone pole one of those large mirrors that's convex. You can see down and see headlights coming and everything.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm rifling through some of my music. I was listening to tapes at the time, so you can guess when it was.
That shows the age.
That's right. And just sitting there, and it was literally like 2 or 3 in the morning, so there wasn't any traffic. And I was probably there 30 seconds, and I got ready to go after I put the next tape cassette in, and I didn't. I don't know why I didn't. I was getting ready to pull out, and I didn't. And I sat there for another few seconds, and a car goes hauling ass by, no headlights on. I mean, he's probably doing 45 miles an hour, very well could have killed me.
Oh, wow.
And I was done getting ready to go, and I didn't. And I've always kind of questioned, why didn't I go?
Yeah.
And there wasn't anything that I didn't feel like somebody say stop or any, but it's interesting that I didn't go at that time, and I've always kind of questioned what that was all about.
Yeah, and it almost makes you wonder if there is some kind of spirituality, maybe situations like that we're all kind of being played chess in a way or something, where somebody's helping us move or not move. I mean, if you want to go with everything happens for a reason and that kind of belief, I mean, there are a lot of strange coincidences like that, and which kind of while we're talking here, and these things have a generic way of going. We're talking about all these positive spirits, and I feel like any spirituality and ghosts in my life have been more positive if I were to believe that, which, like I said, I explain
Right.
things away. I'm a hard 9. But, why do you think we bring the fear in all of it? Where does that come in? What's the, we have this positivity and these things, and what Stephen say that ghosts are bad, or does that just kind of go into the whole demonic thing, or where do you think, why do we want to be scared of ghosts? Where does that come from, you think?
Well, from what I had initially said when we started up the chat, we don't know what it is afterlife. It could be anything. So with that being unknown, it is initially something that be afraid of.
Afraid
I feel
of the unknown.
Yeah.
People fear what they don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's funny too, because I mean, sitting here talking about all this, we go into this old ghost house. Just throwing a scenario out there. We go in this old ghost house, and we hear the floorboards creaking. Hell, we even see footsteps coming towards us, and we almost shit ourselves, and we're like, oh my God, something's trying to get us. Well, for all we know, that's somebody's old granny that passed away. They're trying to bake us some cookies. I mean, how the fuck do we know?
Right.
I mean, it's just, but it's funny that we automatically put a negative or a scary, feeling on these things, and that kind of interests me. How it's like, if there is spirituality and there's ghosts and there's all this stuff, I mean, there's probably just as much good as bad, if you will, or maybe even more. Because I mean, I don't think most people are inherently evil, and I can't believe that if there's an afterlife, it's only the evil people fucking collect on the earth, unless that's how it works. And that's just it. We don't know. Is like this is Earth purgatory for all the fucking assholes, that couldn't make it to heaven if there is a heaven, and grandma's making cookies in heaven. I don't know.
Right.
But I mean, it would lead me to believe that if we're thinking that there is this, these things happen for a reason, and we've got our uncle with us, and our father's looking out for us, and we're not driving out in the middle of things. If this is what's really happening, you'd think that there'd be just as much good, and that it would be just as easy to assume that grandma's bringing me cookies as there is a demon wants to, sodomize me.
Well, maybe it has to do with like either how like the spirit died or something, because I have kind of like encountered like a creepy kind of scary spirit, or well, I think it was a creepy spirit, but
Now you said you hadn't experienced anything. Now you're coming out with it. Okay.
well, I've never seen anything. I've experienced a lot of
Okay.
things, but when I was on the trail, when I was on the AT, and me and my dad were I'm not going to tell you where because I don't want to ruin the trail for anybody. But when me and my dad were
I
hiking
might have
through,
a whole episode of how fucked up the trail is, because I got a lot of stories. But anyway, continue.
I love it. It's the best. I always had these great experiences on the trail. There was scary times, but anyway.
Yeah, please.
There
get
was
to
this
it.
one campsite that me and my dad went to, and we both agreed that it was a very creepy campsite. And that night,
What state were you in?
Disbelief.
I don't want to say because if somebody's hiking through, I don't.
I'm
want
just
them-
curious, and it's fine.
Georgia.
Georgia. Okay.
There
Oh,
actually,
there's a lot of crazy shit in Georgia.
actually, it was near Blood Mountain where that girl got murdered. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Okay. Well, now you know exactly where it is. So continue. If
So,
you're hiking that and listening to this,
Yeah,
you're
watch
fucked.
out if you're hiking.
okay, sorry. But there was this part of the trail and this campsite that we went to, and it was really creepy. And that night, these owls just started hooting and hooting all night long. And we woke up, and this guy actually, looked in outside of his tent, and there was actually like bear poop or something out near his tent, and it was just really odd.
This guy must really know poop. I wouldn't know.
Well, it was
I wouldn't be like, that's
bear
a
poop
fucking,
is big.
that's a fucking black bear.
It's not
And
rhinoceros.
and it was just all these like creepy feelings, and we just couldn't explain it. But everybody that was at the campsite all agreed that this was a very odd, just feeling campsite. And so I don't know if something had happened there, or if there was just maybe it was some kind of battle that happened there like a long time ago, or just it was just this weird kind of thing.
And that's the thing too, is a lot of people say, well, nothing happened there, or something did happen there. But we also have to remember there's this whole history before us, where the Native Americans,
Yeah.
and if you want to believe in spirituality and spirits hanging on, and people continuing to inhabit a place as spirits or ghosts or whatever you want to call them, there's this whole history before us. I mean, for all we know, there was some
Yeah.
battle there. There was some native tribes that had a battle in that spot.
Yeah, even if there's no physical evidence, that doesn't mean that
Yeah.
there is not something tying a spirit that has passed away that didn't want to.
Yeah.
It's tied to that area for
And,
some
and
reason.
how would we know? Because a lot of things in history aren't recorded, and we
Yeah.
don't know everything that happened everywhere. So, a place like that in the middle of a trail, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
I would kind of like to get into a little bit of personal experience. Steven, what do you got for us as far as you got any run-ins here?
Well, I'm gonna foreshadow slightly. This took place at Colonial Williamsburg, and it was 2017, the same time frame that we'll get into later. And there was some sort of, it's like a weaving piece of equipment where they did like rugs and stuff like that. And it was huge, and it was pretty cool seeing it, in action. And they had a tour. There was a gentleman that was talking about how the equipment worked. There was a lady that was making like a quilt or something, and there was probably 20, 30 people in the room, including myself and my wife and two of my daughters. And so Colonial Williamsburg, for those who haven't been there, was some of the places there were built in the early 1700s. It's a fantastic place to visit. I suggest if you have the opportunity and you're near it to go.
I grew up in New England, so I've probably been to 100 places like that.
Yeah, and
You know,
there's
the
they're
Quaker
all
villages and things like
there's
that.
a lot of
yeah.
places like that have that sort of history
Very,
that
very
you
cool
kind of
places.
when you walk into it, you already kind of get that feeling of wow, this is old and I can feel it. But in any event, I was there. The guy was doing his spiel, and I quite literally felt, and I'll do it here. It was on my right shoulder, but I felt a tug on my fleece twice, like that, enough to really yank on it.
Oh, wow.
And I thought it was my middle daughter, who is a lot like me and likes to play pranks and everything. And so I figured it was her, and I turn around and look, and I'm up against the wall,
wow.
in the corner, in fact, and she's over here. And I thought for about 3 or 4 seconds, and then I kind of laughed out loud to the point where everybody stopped. The guy looked at me and asked, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll talk to you about it afterwards." So as he's talking, I'm thinking, okay, did I have like a muscle spasm? Because I've had those before where you kind of feel that little twinge. I was trying to explain it all away in the way that I would do any other time where I've had something that I've experienced. And I couldn't. I mean, it literally was a double tug enough to where it lifted my fleece off of the, kind of like a polo fleece. And I can't explain it, and it was something that one of the first things that I've had happen to me that I simply cannot explain. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and it was pretty cool, and I didn't feel threatened by it either. I wasn't scared. If it happened in the middle of the night and I was by myself in a dark room, maybe we'd talk differently. But I didn't feel any weight or heaviness or sadness or scared.
Well, as you said, you felt like it was a prank, right?
Yeah, that's in fact what it felt like. Yeah. So
Just somebody being playful.
yeah.
And you had told me that you spoke to the guy afterwards. We had talked about the story before, and he had even said that happens there. That's a
Exactly. It's the same building, in fact, that a gentleman who was one of the night guards got locked down in the basement of, and I don't know the true details of that, but from recollection, the guy had told me that he felt paralyzed. He went down, checked the basement, making sure that everybody was out of the building for the night, and they lock up. He started walking back up the stairs. I think he forgot to turn the light off, and went down and turned the light back off, and then started going back up the stairs again, and was in essence frozen. He couldn't move his legs, and
Wow.
he'd been working there for I don't know how long, and had never had that happen to him before, to the point where he could not move. And I forget how the rest of that story goes, but same building that it happened in. So there's a lot of people having situations and circumstances that they can't explain there. But for every one of something like that, you've got 100 million of the people that are goofing off with phone apps and taking pictures of somebody, putting them in a window and stuff, and that's what ruins it for a lot
absolutely.
of us.
Yeah.
And I think that's because I said that does come up, and I'm gonna go ahead and be guilty of that. Bringing up aliens here. The government a couple of years ago now said that there are UFOs. They announced that publicly, and we're all pretty sure that there's aliens and everything. And there've been some really compelling stories. But that's the only reason that ever really threw me off from paranormal things, ghosts, aliens, anything is basically those assholes that make things up, and then it's like you're like, man, that's full of shit. So then it makes you a skeptic. It makes you hard to believe things because you're just like, man, this is just what everybody's doing. This is just everything is bullshit, and everything is kind of staged or set up or photoshopped. And especially with technology today, we were discussing it earlier, the green suit. I mean, I could literally run around here right now knocking everybody's headphones off in a green suit, jumping around like a crazy person, edit me out. It looks like y'all are being haunted.
All it takes is one fool to make a mockery of it to make the rest of it all unvalid, right?
I mean, I have a green suit if you want to mess around with that one day.
I mean, maybe we might do that. Maybe we'll do the ultimate, and I would love to do a show in the future of looking at things and seeing if we can debunk them and seeing, kind of what people did. It's just, I agree with Steve that it's just bullshit because I'm one of those people where I'm looking for evidence. I would love to know something, but it's like you can't really trust like anything almost that's out there. And that's really sad because, it'd be nice if we could look at, ghosts or spirits or whatever at one thing and be like, this is all confirmed true shit. And as we just covered a show recently, I'm sure this is on the channel. Please go check it out if you'd like to. But we talked about the Warrens and how that whole thing was basically bullshit. And I loved them as a story. I loved the Warrens and everything until I researched it. I just thought it was the coolest thing that these people, this couple, was these amazing paranormal investigators, and they found all this research, and there's all these cool videos and stuff. And then to start reading article after article after article where Ed Warren had people lying for him and making this stuff up. It's really disheartening. It really makes you feel like, fuck, is there anything, or is it just kind of we're all being led blindly by these assholes that just want to make stuff up.
Well, I mean, I think in part to making it up, what's the point? It's either for entertainment purposes to kind of show somebody or try to fool them, or there's monetary gain to be had.
Yeah.
And, so that stuff, to understand really what's true and what's not. I'll go back to the alien thing real quick, a little bit off topic, but when did the government finally allude to the fact that there are aliens right in the middle of a pandemic when everybody else has got their brain somewhere else?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When people
And
aren't paying attention.
Exactly.
Or not caring.
If they did it 5 years earlier, maybe maybe you got like a War of the Worlds thing from way back
people
when.
People would have given a shit.
Right.
Pandemonium, pretty much.
So yeah, the fact that timing is one thing, and also people's perception plays a big role in it. And to all those people that fake these things or do that, it completely nullifies all of the potential real things. And again, foreshadowing here, but what we're going to share at the end of this, if I hadn't taken the picture myself, if you showed it to me, I probably would have said, yeah, that's I don't know,
And I'm going to be honest. This is essentially, essentially this is my show. It's at my house and in my studio, and I feel like that I've got a large part of the credibility of the things that we say, and we do try to research things to the best of our ability. Robin lies are on all the time, and Steven he's been on the show before, and he's somebody that I know personally, and I wouldn't even share the evidence that we're going to be sharing at the end of this if I didn't trust Steven and know who he was personally. Just because I wouldn't want to be adding to that bullshit that's out there. I wouldn't want to be adding to that, just crap that people are trying to pass off as real. And and it's interesting because earlier we were talking about ghost hunters and those kind of shows and how, I think that some of these people, they have the passion for it and they start off trying to do the right thing, trying to do the real thing, and they don't find the evidence they want. And that's what we were just talking about earlier today, Steven and I, is how, you need to also keep your viewers. So then all of a sudden, you're adding little sounds or you're adding little, and then the show gets outlandish. It becomes...
Doctor.
How do you watch a show for 3 years? And I used to watch Ghost Hunters all the time, and I was always like kind of annoyed at the end. I was like, man, nothing ever fucking happens on the show, but I'd watch another one just in case.
Right.
And I'd watch another one just in case. But I did notice a couple of years in, all of a sudden I'm like, they're starting to get some good evidence. They're starting to collect some stuff here. And I can't help but think that that's not a coincidence. That, because I think a lot of viewers were like me, where they're like, if they don't find something soon, I'm kind of done. Like,
right.
I mean, this is just,
Yeah.
I've been watching the show forever. Nothing's really happening. And then you get those little, and they're like, did you hear him? Did you hear him? He said, get the fuck out of my house. And you're like, what? Play that again. And like, it's like, get the fuck out of my, and I don't fucking hear that. I don't know. But I mean, like, I guess when I'm sitting there and I like play it loud enough and I got my eyes all fucking wide and shit, and, I'm like, oh, maybe it did. Oh.
And they print it out on the screen for you to read over and over
Yeah,
again.
and
You're
then,
gonna hear
and
what
then
you see,
you
right?
convince me, and then the sounds like, get the fuck out of my house. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This guy wants you the fuck out of their house. Like, this is some serious shit. And I mean, realistically, it's silly. It's. I mean, I don't know. Probably somebody farted 3 rooms over, and the fucking EVP caught it up, and it just sounded like. So I mean, who the fuck knows? I mean, it's funny because there's so much silliness, and I swear to God, if I continue my career in art and recording and just all of these creative endeavors, I will be doing a ghost show one day, just because I want to go out there and literally just do it the right way and be like, there's fucking nothing. Because I'm a skeptic, and that's what I kind of believe, and I really just want to show that and just
Right.
be unapologetic about it and fucking if there is something, believe you me, it's fucking real because I'm not gonna make shit up.
Oh, don't worry, I'll bring my green suit.
Yeah. Well, no, Rob's not gonna bring his green suit.
Is this the same green suit
We're
you
not.
wore at the beach?
I was thinking maybe Kermit the Frog or something. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of those shows because first of all, I want to believe, right? Let's go to Fox Mulder and X-Files.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, I want to believe in this stuff.
I think we all do. Even me being a hard 9, I want to believe.
Yeah.
I wish right now somebody come through the door and give me evidence beyond evidence. I could be like, it's all real.
Right. But so much of the when you're watching it on TV, when you're watching all of these different shows, and there's so many to count now, and most of them have kind of ebbed and flowed and gone out.
Yeah.
But because you can't, there's no longevity in that unless you're churning out, EVP after EVP and
Yeah.
woman in a white dress walking. So when it comes to those shows, I've always been hooked on them too, because I want to see something cool. I want to hear something, and they go to the state penitentiary in Pennsylvania, or they go to this, whatever it is, and you're like, oh yeah, there's history there. There's got to be something, and you're like waiting for it. A lot of these shows, especially when they invite outsiders to come in and take a look at it, they tell them about everything. Well, the last time we were here, so and so had this happen to them, and when you go down that hallway, look for this, and they're just baiting you to already have a disposition, already feel something or see something, when I wish that they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're building you up just to get you uneasy, more susceptible to feeling like something is
Absolutely.
about to happen when, as you said earlier, conditioning them. If they didn't have that buildup,
Right.
would anything be different? They would definitely feel different. So, yeah, I think that...
And that
Yeah.
just goes to the cinematic side of it all, for the viewers and not for the truth, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of also you were telling me, some of these conversations happen outside of the videos we make here because we discuss these topics. You're telling me also about a not a trailer, but a commercial for a scary place where at the end they actually had this like doll setup or something like that, and it that's kind of what you're talking about is where they set
Exactly.
you up to be like, this is scarier than it is. They put that that doll in there with the message written next to it, and it's like you're just trying to at this point sell tickets.
Exactly. And of course, you can stay the night for $300 per person.
Yeah.
And,
Oh,
and,
wow.
under the guise that they need to do electrical work and plumbing and everything, which I get it because somebody bought the house and he needs to turn a profit on it.
Yeah.
But so much right all the way to the end. It was like really cool. This is historic. This house is, in fact, I think it's the most haunted house in New York, being that the what's that other house there that's on Long Island? They don't count that one. I forget.
I'm not sure, but the last show we just found out that Amityville House is not.
Yeah, that is,
the most
is that
haunted
the one
place.
on? I can't even remember where it is. now.
Amityville was a hoax.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry.
apparently.
No, but
Apparently.
the whole thing is the guy bought it. There's talk of Indian burial grounds and all sorts of all the history, and then come in for $300 and stay the night. So I don't know, and I probably would if I was close by, just for the sake of
Do
it.
you want to experience Poltergeist for $300? It's all yours.
That's right.
Come on down.
I'm not gonna lie. If we're gonna go ghost hunting, and maybe this is just me, but if you're like, we're gonna go ghost hunting, where are we gonna go? I don't fucking know why, but I'm gonna put my money on Louisiana. I don't know why. I just feel like I feel like that's a. If I had to think about everything I've ever read, seen, I haven't been there personally, but just imagining everything I've read and seen and bringing it all to like where the fuck am I gonna see a ghost? Just Louisiana feels right. I don't know.
Oddly
Just-
enough, I agree, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it's got that weird spooky voodoo.
Maybe that's it.
The
Just
vibe,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
it's just
Like New Orleans.
yeah, New Orleans and just the history there and just how many disasters have happened there and how many people
yeah,
died
that's
there and the
true.
voodoo and the hoodoo and the things you don't dare do and
Well, there is
all
a
that
house
stuff.
there.
Yeah, I'm sure there's hundreds. I mean, and they also like the thing I love about the South though too is there's different kinds of hauntings, but in the South they always have that creepy plantation house out on the field with the long driveway with the
Yep.
trees growing out, and it's got like stuff growing up the side of it, and it's a beautiful old plantation house, and there's just something about that just
Like the Weeping Willows.
I would want to go to an uninhabited place, something where people haven't been in before and haven't been, writing their own, ideas of what's happening in there. But I see them all the time here. Yeah, I mean, especially the new housing, the way that it is now. People, you're driving along, old plantation house, middle of nowhere, boom, pops up. Here's 25 new houses being built. So I don't know why they haven't torn a lot of that stuff down, but.
Yeah, and I mean, if I was gonna get in on the haunting thing, I think I'd want something that's been around for a long time, because you do get the like poltergeist thing where they had the house built on the burial ground, and so the house was haunted because of the things underneath, and it's like that just doesn't hit me the same way as the house where it actually happened.
Well, what speaks to? Does a place have to be, or is it haunted because of the time that's gone by? Does it have to be from the, you're in a castle in the 1600s, so it's haunted. Like immediately you're thinking that, or a war took place in this area, or on the Gettysburg.
Yeah.
This has got to be haunted. People died. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's like you're
If I was going to buy into the paranormal part of everything, I would say that it's a longevity of built-up energy, maybe,
Oh, yeah.
perhaps.
or stories.
Or
about it.
stories, energy. One of my things is that if you're like, okay, so legit, I just showed you a video of a door slamming. Okay, and we've proven that there's nothing involved with that. Now, if I was going to go against my skeptical side and say, okay, that was kind of a spirit or a haunting or some kind of thing like that, I would say that my belief would have to be that I think when a body dies, energy has to go on somehow, because energy, you really can't kill energy. Energy is kind of a ongoing thing.
Yeah, it just changes
Yeah.
its state of meaning. It cannot be destroyed.
Yeah, so if somebody's like angry and they're violent and they have a lot of energy, a lot of negative energy, I could see maybe one of those what is it called? I said it earlier, where the residual haunting, where it's just kind of like, okay, this guy slammed his fucking door all the time. She was pissed off at his wife because she burnt the fucking biscuits, whatever. So he slammed his fucking door every other night because she just never learned how to not burn the biscuits. So he dies, and then the fucking door slams every now and then, right around dinner time, because that's the energy that he used, and that's, when he died, maybe some energy, kind of residual energy stayed with that. That being said, though, it almost seems like, or almost feels like you could have residual energy while still being alive if you just were overly fucking energetic and angry.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like twins of some sort. I've heard that they can feel what the other person is feeling, or if one person's hurt, the other can sense it or feel it. I mean, obviously there's some sort of energy there that they're in tune to that we don't know about. You think about everything in the air, all of the sound waves and audio and video, and if I pull up Netflix on my phone right now, how am I getting that noise? How am I getting that video? It's all in the air. And so you talk about like EVPs when they catch certain things on a recorder or something is seen. I mean, it's just a conduit for that energy or that information to be able to show itself, I guess, and that could be misconstrued as well, maybe.
Yeah. Or what if it's like kind of like the residual energy, like we're talking about Gettysburg, like if somebody dies in a traumatic way, or a bunch of people die in a traumatic way, and that energy is just kind of stuck there, and maybe it's like the trauma of the ghost. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
It's possible because we don't know. That's why
exactly.
All possibilities
and
are
interesting
possible.
enough, when you're talking about the sound waves, it could also be like CB radios. Maybe some sound wave got away, some vigilante sound wave.
Actually, when I was a kid, I would play games on my computer, and person next door across the road actually had like a 60-foot radio tower. And so on my speakers, I would be playing in the middle of the night, and I would hear this like, and like it would only come out of the computer speakers.
Yeah, like somebody talking, but not.
And
like
it wasn't
distorted.
anything. It wasn't like I could hear that they were trying to make sounds, and it sounded like a language, but I couldn't tell anything of what it was. And I realized, wait, that's from the radio tower next.
But you
wow.
could have sat there and
Yeah.
been like, I'm fucking haunted.
Yeah, I could have.
You could have sat there and
But
been like, oh my god, that just
also,
sounded like get
you
the
know,
fuck out of my house.
Skepticism and realizing what was going on, and I talked to the neighbor and
Yeah.
found out that, oh yeah, you were on last night. Okay, that's what it was then.
Yeah, I mean, that shit makes sense, and that's how a lot of these things, I think, can be explained. You know, and also going into the paranormal, we had discussed earlier the coincidence of, like, how strange it is if you listen to a song and then somebody comes over and then they're singing the fucking song like it's still in the air, you know, or back in the day, we were talking about we all had the handheld telephones, the wall mount telephones,
Yeah.
and how many times we all have an experience where one of us have gone to pick up the phone to call somebody and hello, they're already on the fucking phone.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I've had that experience.
yeah. So how interesting is that? I mean, so there's, and really what it comes down to is I think that our brains, we don't, with all the firings going on in our brains and how our brains work and how our brains kind of program themselves to work, there's a lot that we're not using, and there's a lot that could probably be used differently, and there's a lot of the unknown out there, as you were saying, the unknown, and that unknown. I mean, maybe I could just one day somehow tap into the ability to fucking move things with my mind, or be able to tell things that are going to happen a minute from now before it happens. I mean, who knows? That's what I'm saying. Is that it's so interesting. It's so interesting how anything could be, and but the skeptic in me says that it could all be explained. But anyway, that's beside the point.
Let's talk like psychics. I mean, what is it, Miss Chloe on TV?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. For every one psychic that might be a psychic, there's 100,000 that aren't, right?
Oh yeah.
But
and once again, it ruins the credibility.
absolutely. And again, when you say that word, most people are going to laugh, and they're like, really? And I'm included in that. But there was somebody that one of my family members used to go see, who hit the nail on the head a lot, including one of my children being born, almost exactly when and what sex it was, and we didn't even know yet. And
Wow.
But my other family member did know, and when I told them, they were like, "Well, that's awesome," and I already knew that. So
Oh, wow.
that's crazy. I mean,
That is.
and you can dismiss that if you'd like, but I mean, coincidence? Probably not.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there's certain intuitions, and before we get to this compelling evidence, we got a couple minutes. Was there anything anybody else wanted to bring up, possibly about spirituality, ghosts, what it could mean, what we think, any strange instances? I'd like to do another episode at some point in time where we just strictly focus on ghost stories, but I figured this one being that we have this piece of evidence and kind of discussing, and I want to know, kind of why we feel this way and why we want this and what's going on in our minds. Is there anything anybody would like to add to that fact, or would you guys like to get to the juice here?
Let's get to the meat and potatoes.
Okay, let's get to the
Yeah.
meat and potatoes. So, the reason we even had this show is actually revolving around this evidence that we have that Stephen here found. And once again, I'm going to let Stephen talk about it, but we kind of alluded to Williamsburg. And Stephen, why don't you go ahead and tell us about this picture? And while he's talking about this, I'm going to go ahead and edit this into the video so that everybody can see the picture. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the picture, and then I'm going to circle what we're looking at in the picture, and then I'm going to give you a close-up. And we've all seen the picture here, so we can all comment on this. Stephen, please tell us about this picture.
Okay. Well, this is actually taken at that same trip that I had that other experience, and so it's not that I was looking for it later on that night, but that's in fact when I noticed it. So, and I'll get to that. But let me preface this by saying it was, it was 2017 when I was there. We had been multiple times, and I had never up until that point ever felt or seen anything, nor was I looking for it. During this particular time frame, they were doing like wreaths on every door. They were with different local flowers and stuff, and it was really cool. And I was taking a ton of pictures to send to my mother of those areas and so many other different places. And so one of the oldest places there is called the Peyton Randolph House. And if memory serves, it was built in the early 1700s, like 1707 or something like that. And the house has, if you look up on YouTube, there's a handful of videos and talkings of certain instances that have happened there. But I think a lot of it is just that it's old, and you get there and you kind of just feel something. But in any event, we were there, walked through, We had done the tour of the lower part of the house, and this is all done by a nice woman that was talking throughout it and kind of explaining different things. So Peyton Randolph married his cousin, or his cousin, like a lot of people did back then to keep money in the family. And they were showing a picture on the wall of how they looked very similar, and it alluded to that. So, but we were exactly. So
It's got a funny picture. I apologize.
he was more attractive than she was, but
yeah. Because they looked alike, and
they
they
did
probably
look-
made better-looking men than women.
I
Anyways,
can't
sorry.
fathom what their children looked like, but so
Rest in peace,
I'm in this
sorry.
open space, and this is kind of like an area where she could pause and kind of talk about some stuff that would happen here. Almost every room had a fireplace in it, which you can imagine for the sake of cold winters and things, and
Oh, yeah.
no electric heat. So there's this fireplace, and then there's like this hammock bed combination thingy that's folded up against the wall. And I was like, man, that's looks terribly uncomfortable, but it's pretty cool. So let me take a picture of that. One of several that I took throughout
Yeah.
that trip and inside that actual house. And we went through the whole thing. No other things happened to me that day. We were staying at the Powhatan, and I was thumbing through some pictures and looking to send some to my mother, and rifled through, and I wasn't looking at anything specific, and it caught my eye immediately. Like, what the hell is this? So I zoomed in on it, and in the corner, there is a door jamb, which makes up any door, of course. Most door jambs, when you go through them, they go to an open space. This particular door jamb is up against an actual wall, and so there's only 6 inches of space behind that door jamb. I know because you can see in the picture, first of all, I've been there several times, and I actually stood in that exact spot maybe 30 seconds later.
And I also want to say, after we add the picture to this video, I will also be adding the video. We were fortunate enough to find a video of a walkthrough of this house, and I'm going to show you the clip of going through this room. You'll recognize it based off what you see in the picture. It's the exact same room, and they're going to show you. So you're going to see this 6-inch space, wall right there.
Right this way. Come on in and take a look at this next bed chamber. It connects to the same room that Harrison Randolph and Randolph Harrison would have been residing in. That's where you would have found Elizabeth Harrison, Mrs. Randolph's niece. She comes to this property a young girl of 12 and 13 years of age. Her parents have died in an accident, and she's now an orphan. So she comes here, and Peyton and Elizabeth Randolph are going to rear her. Mrs. Randolph's going to teach this young lady how to run a household.
And continue, but I
Sure.
just wanted to open up that I will be showing you this room in a video form so you can see exactly what we're talking about.
I don't want to be too wordy, but I want to paint the scene right.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
So after I took that picture, the woman continued to talk. The group was only made up of myself, my children, and my wife at the time. So I walked in this one little spot, which is in essence the doorway opening, because there was a glass partition that keeps you from going into the room. And so I'm standing right there looking at stuff. It's dark. There's a light on over in the corner, which is reflecting off the wall, which is like a stained wood. And stood there for a few seconds, took a few pictures in there, walked out, and we did our thing and continued on. So, like I said, it wasn't until later on that night, when I was back at our hotel, if you will, that I was rifling through and saw this. And I don't know if you want any more. than
Yeah,
that,
I mean,
but-
as you can see in the picture, because I'm going to be showing this picture, I trust Steven. I believe Steven. I've known Steven for a long time personally. And I looked at the picture, and I brought this up to Liza. I brought this up to Rob. We sat and we looked at the picture. I've looked at it with Steven, and this picture to me looks completely undoctored. I couldn't see any evidence of anything doctored. Not that I believe Steven would, or honestly, no offense, but that Steven
Yeah,
would even know how to do that.
No,
and
I wouldn't.
And this is clearly a foot. It's clearly a foot coming through what looks like the wall, like somebody is stepping into the room.
Yeah.
This foot is, as we get closer, and I'm going to show you the pictures probably a couple times going through this video, maybe over and over again so you can see what we're talking about. But it is clear as day, the anatomy of the foot, as Robert was saying. I mean, it's
Yeah,
Yep,
all of
spot
the
on.
curves, everything is in the right portion of where it should be for a left foot. You can look at the ankle, you can look at the bridge of the foot, where all the toes will be in it. It's perfectly, it's correct.
It's a foot.
Anatomically
I mean,
correct.
Yeah.
And even as an artist, I can say I believe it to be anatomically correct. You can even see, like, kind of the knuckles on the feet.
Yeah.
And it looks like a woman's foot to me.
Yeah.
So let me speak to that. So I don't recall, and I can look at after the fact. I don't recall if Peyton Randolph and his wife had any children, but I know that there was a young woman that actually stayed in that room, and that was Mrs. Randolph's niece. That woman's or young girl's mother and father had died somehow, and so they took her in at like 12 or 13 years old. And I want to say her name was Elizabeth Harrison, I think. And so the fact that it's a woman's foot in an area where a young girl who became a woman stayed in
Yeah.
that room was pretty wild to me, and kind of speaks to the validity of it on its own, because I know it's real. I took it, and I know that's what it is. So
Yeah.
it is a woman's foot.
And speaking to the skeptics beyond all this, so at first I'm thinking, well, what else could be there? What else could it be? And when you watch the video and realize that there's that 6-inch clearance, there's really nothing could hide behind there, especially a person.
Yeah.
And then I was even thinking beyond that. Robert and I were actually going over it one night, and we were thinking, okay, well, what else could be there, if anything? But these are historic places, and historic places are kept a certain way.
Right.
There's nothing floating around sitting
Yeah.
there for a day or two. They keep it standard all day, every day.
Yeah, especially when they're going to have tours. They're
Yeah.
not going to have anything there, and I don't know what else could look like this foot. But even if, say, it was a kid's toy or even a piece of trash or anything, that's not going to be there during a tour. It's just historical place. They're not going to allow these things to be there. And I've been to places like this, and I mean, it's pristine all the time. There are people that are paid to make sure that every experience walking through this is identical and the same, because it's a historical place, and it needs to keep that that level of originality or what am I trying to say here? Level
Authenticity.
of authenticity. Bam.
It's a difficult
Bam.
one.
So authenticity. So it's authentic all the time is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And that really, when I thought about that, really I was like, well, what the fuck, because what could be there? There couldn't be anything there. They wouldn't allow anything there. So it looks like a foot walking through the wall. There's no area to be behind that or hiding behind that.
No, and I, in fact, stood right there, so I would have seen anything. I mean, there's no room for like a shoe rack or drapery from a window, there just was nothing
And if you
there.
saw something like that, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right, I would have
because-
known. I mean, when I saw the picture, I probably chuckled like a little girl. I mean, I thought it was amazing. I yelled out to my wife. I was like, "Look at this!" I was giddy all night long,
Yeah.
and I've only shown family and friends. I've never really.
Well,
not
it's
on
out
the-
there now, baby.
Yeah, but
It's out there
up
now.
to this point. I've never been on the internet. I've never posted it trying to show it off or anything like that.
Yeah.
But my hope is now that we've kind of talked about it and maybe it gains traction, that I can, and obviously it's in digital form too, but I want it looked at. I want somebody to verify that this has not been doctored and that this is
Yeah.
actually a real
and that's
thing.
an invitation. I mean, honestly, if there's somebody out there that's an expert on this, drop a comment. Let us know. I mean, we can get you an original. I'd be happy to find out about it. But as far as I'm concerned, even being a skeptic, and I mean, like I said, I'm a hard 9 fingering a 10. This is one of the best pieces of evidence I've ever seen. A lot of that comes from me knowing Steven. A lot of that comes from, my personal experience with this guy.
You've been waiting all day to rock that term a few times.
I don't know. I mean, it's the Warrens. I kept a piece in there because I want to talk about getting sodomized by demons. So Some things I do just want to talk about, I guess. I keep some nuggets in there that I'm just like, I want to say that shit. But yeah, I mean, I believe as a skeptic that this is some serious evidence, and I think that all of us that have seen it can agree that this is pretty compelling. And I would honestly love for somebody to step in and be like, hey, let me take a look at that picture, because I'm not an expert, but I looked at it and I don't see anything that says anything more to me than this is a fucking ghost foot.
Yeah.
And I'll speak to it. Everybody knows this anyway, but there's ghost apps. I've had people that I've worked with come up and say, "Man, look at this! This is crazy." And I mean, you can take and put a picture of somebody or something, or
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much of that going on. I think it's kind of waned as far as popularity goes, but this was 2017. I don't know if it existed back then or not. I didn't have it, never heard of it up until recently, but this is legit. This is real. It's my word, and like Jacob said, anybody who's willing or able to verify that, I'm happy to
take a look, please. And I mean, honestly, the thing to me also is that I don't know. It's just very interesting to me, because being a skeptic, I wanted so bad to tear it apart myself, and because I always want to find a reason for everything. But I feel like this is pretty compelling evidence. I really appreciate Stephen sharing this with me, and I think all of us, I mean, it's definitely something to bring forward, on the, when we talk about paranormal things we've seen, things we've experienced. I hope that everybody that's watching or listening, well, if you're listening, you need to watch. Okay, first of all, so if I turn this into a podcast, you need to come on YouTube and watch the video, because obviously I can't show you pictures in a podcast. So you need to watch this, and it's really interesting, very compelling evidence. And I mean, on that note, I mean, does anybody else have anything they'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's real. It looks like a lady's foot.
Yeah, I mean, it really does.
Or even it could be like a preteen foot. I mean, it's very small, but
I mean, it's hard to say. It's a foot.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about that.
Exactly.
And part of it to me, and like I said, and I'll just say this one more time, and I won't say it again, but where it was taken, if it was taken in Steve's old apartment, I know Steve, and I still trust Steve, and I still believe Steve, but if it was taken in Steve's old apartment, maybe there's something on the floor. So they don't let shit just roll around on the floor at historical places. So to me, that was like the biggest piece of evidence. It'd be like if you were in like a government building or something, certain rooms or things like that, where it's clean all the time and people are paid to keep it clean. You're not going to see just trash rolling around the fucking floor. It's very important that it has that authenticity. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, also for me, it's like, is there anything that would like refract light or something
or double
that would give that off?
Double exposure, but I mean, the guy's using a digital camera, so I mean, double exposure.
It was a camera phone.
Phone. Does that even? Can you even double expose anything on camera phones? I mean,
it might have been an S9 Samsung.
I don't think you can. I mean, that's like old school photography. And we've got a friend, we've got a mutual friend who's a photographer. Maybe we'll go ahead and have him take a look too, and maybe we'll add some comments,
see if we can figure anything out.
Or maybe we might even have a second video about this if we do find anything interesting about it. But I'd like people to comment on what they think after seeing this video, and let's talk about it in the comments, and let's see what everybody else has to say. And in the comments, if there's also things that maybe you think we should discuss in the future, I would like to have another show wrapped around ghosts. Or if you even have any cool stories or anything, leave them in the comments. Let's have a good, fun discussion about this.
Yeah.
I know me, Rob, and Liza, at least, hopefully Steven as well, if he's interested, they're going to be looking at the comments. So, hopefully we can have a nice discussion, let's all be respectful and just try to have a fun talk. You guys good?
Yeah, I'm glad I got the opportunity to put it out there, because if not, it would have died with me.
Absolutely, and now it's out there, and if he's got the original, if anybody wants to see it. So I'd just like to say thank you guys for being on today, Robert and Steven. I appreciate you guys being on here as always.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, and everybody have a great day, and everybody be safe out there, and thank you for watching and listening, and let's hit the comment box, subscribe and like. Have a great day.